attendance, and we'll just move on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
No, I have none.
Okay, that's good. We'll move on to good news stories, and the only one that I've got is to update you on the Nairnshire Community newspaper. The steering group's making great progress. We've put our application into Oscar for the formation of a SCIO. They've responded, and we are confident we'll hear within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Once the SCIO's been formed, we've had very positive responses to initial feelers that have gone out for funding, and we'll be able to apply to get a bank account and actually to get funding. So things are moving apace, I'm delighted to say, and we'll have some more good news for you further down the road. Anybody else got any good news stories? Councillor Jarvie.
Oh, just to say well done to Nairn for all the festive efforts and community spirits, even people's personal houses advertising. Come and look at my lights. Very cheery and great engagement via bid and local businesses and things and events put on by local communities and our little groups. It was really nice and very uplifting, and the true spirit of Christmas. And also success of the local place plan the other night. Lots of engagement from a diverse range, and really good and grateful to see Ross McCartney come through for that, to meet lots of our local people. So onward and upward with that, and hopefully more people join in.
Okay, thank you. Leads that's nicely into. We're delighted to welcome Chief Inspector Ross McCartney, and your report, which is fabulous, and the level of detail in there is very much appreciated. So I've got a few questions to ask you. Is there anything you wish to say to the report? It's pretty comprehensive and it's very much appreciated. So if there's anything you wish to add to it, other than that, I'll open it up to the other councillors if they wish to comment on it. So.
No, I appreciate that, Councillor Green, and good morning, everybody. As you said, Ross McCartney, I'm the current local area commander for South Highland. Fantastic beat. Very, very privileged to be in the position I'm in and cover the area I cover. And one of the things I was going to ask was some feedback on the report, given with recent restructures, etc. The report does take a different format, so it's good to hear that positive feedback in terms of that, and I'd welcome any questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of questions before I open it up, if that's okay. One was on the speeding. I see the speeding has gone up, offences from 349 to 918. Is this because you're putting more effort into this, and it's as opposed to there's just been a mass outbreak of speeding in the area, or is there to be more greater resource going towards it? Is the first one. The second point was the possession of drugs. I was intrigued that there was a detection rate of 103%. I was just wondering how you can get 103% of anything, really. And then the last one, again, this is a big surge in shoplifting. And yes, you're catching. It's an unfortunate thing that this is happening, but it's just to say that you see it nationally reported that there's not a focus on shoplifting. It's almost like it's been dropped as a crime that gets much attention. So I'm delighted to see that. So if you could comment on the speeding, the possession rate of drugs, and maybe give a background to the shoplifting, it would be appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those questions, Councillor. So first of all, the speeding, you're absolutely right. There's a significant increase in speeding offences compared to the last year to date. And I certainly put that solely down to the fact that we are out there, speed enforcement, speed checks. There's quite a heavy eye put on that, and it focuses part of and forms part of our daily patrol plans. We're working very closely with the Safety Camera Partnership and our colleagues in road policing units across the Highlands and Islands, certainly up in the Nairn and Nairnshire area in terms of that Operation Cedar to challenge, engage, detect and reduce. So certainly I would put that down to being out there doing what we should be doing in terms of speed checks, and more recently we're actually just waiting on a upgraded set of speed detection equipment coming to Nairn and Nairnshire, which will be used out in the beat.
Good. Okay, and then the second point was the detection rate of 103%. Just as an anomaly in the figures, or
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Certainly, in terms of our actual detection rates, they are high, thankfully, in terms of drugs offences. Like everything, I'd probably put a caveat that we could always do with more information, more intelligence. If anybody has any concerns around drug dealing, drug misuse, or persons affected by drug addiction, then please, by all means, contact the police, contact our partner agencies, health and social care as well, because we're always looking for inroads to support people out of addictions. But no, you're absolutely right. 103% is a good figure. If there was more like them, it would be great. But yeah. And then on to shoplifting, as you say, we have certainly seen quite a significant increase in shoplifting, really in and around a few premises in Nairn, but the co-op in Nairn has seen a significant rise, and we have, certainly Craig Johnson, who you will know, the local inspector, has visited the co-op himself to see, met with the general manager to see what we can try and assist with. We've done crime prevention surveys with security advice being issued as well. But I suppose the main obvious point behind this is the social aspect of it and the need to shoplift, I suppose, in terms of that wider poverty piece that we have seen, the cost of living crisis. So I'm very, whilst I'm very keen that we bring a reduction in shopliftings in the area, I'm also keen that we do it in a joined up approach, which we have been doing, working closely with our partners to not only detect and reduce, but also to support anybody that may feel that they have to go out and commit shoplifting to survive. So we've definitely got a focus on this.
Okay. No, that's appreciated. So I'll open it up. Councillors, anybody wish to make any other comments? No. One last thing I would say is that we get it in the neck up at Codder for the speeding up at Codder. And I know you realise budgetary constraints and various things, and you're doing a remarkable job on limited resources. But if you do get your new equipment, could I suggest you maybe test it up in Codder, which would get us off the hook considerably if you could, because they raised it, and you've attended these meetings as well, so you'll get it as well. But it's just to raise that point.
Absolutely, Councillor.
Note the progress made against the objectives set within the Highland local policing plan, and the change in format necessitated by a reduction in Barkov capacity to prepare additional area committee reports. I get that, so that's been noted. So I'd like to thank you, Ross, very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay.
Councillor Jarvis got a question, possibly?
She? Oh, well, okay.
Yes, thank
Yes, sorry,
you.
Babs.
Yes, I agree with that. I was going to say about Codder as well. There's actually a report that was sent that has the times of the speeding when it is going at the fastest. You can kind of pinpoint your time. I know you don't have all day to go up there, but that was going to be forwarded to you from the community council up there. And it is a great concern besides school and everything, and the fact there's no pavement. The other thing was there was an issue about a speed detection gun, which was an ongoing question last year, and apparently a gun was purchased, a new one, and calibrated, and everyone knew how to use it. Has it ever been used within Nairn or further out?
Yes, I can confirm.
Road is also another area.
Sorry, where was that, Councillor?
Up by the hospital, where people cross over there. There's not a proper crossing, and it's quite a busy pedestrian crossing area for schools, to the hospital, to the bus stops and things like that. But that was a concern area. There was a speed thing done, or speed monitoring thing done on it, but it's where the speed strips were, you know, where the speed things were done. People are still concerned. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way.
And certainly, as you say, quite important to highlight that actually the speed surveys are so important, because it does give us almost exact times that the highest number of offenders are in the location, which allows us to then proactively target that. And I can confirm we do have the speed detection equipment in Nairn. It has been used in Nairn, and we are also due to get an upgrade on that piece of equipment, and I can guarantee you that the new equipment will also be used specifically across Nairn and Nairnshire, but the areas you've mentioned there.
That would be great if you could feed back the results of that to our ward or a future committee meeting, just so that we're getting Nairn specific police information. Would be really good in a report, because some of the local groups ask for police reports and integration. The other thing was the CCTV. They are up and running. We had somebody to the ward, so that is good. But it also been mentioned by some of your officers, requests for new locations for additional cameras. I think Granton Road was one, and out the industrial estate, which may be pretty good ideas, you know, just safety sites for the businesses there. So if that could be added in and costed, etc.
Okay, Councillor Jarvie, that's appreciated. We've actually got an invite to go into Inverness to see the CCTV headquarters. So that's going to be scheduled sometime over the summer. So, and we'll look forward to that. So, Ross, thank you for that. I'll let you go. You're a busy man. Thank you for the report, and we'll look to catching up with you in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, councillors. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to item 5, which is Community Regeneration Fund, and we've got Fiona Hepburn with us. Yes, she's coming on live. Fiona, good morning.
Good morning.
If you want to talk us through, we've got 2 proposals in front of us. If you want to give us a brief bit of background,
Sure,
and then we can come to the decision.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So good morning, everybody. As you say, I'm the Community Regeneration Team Development Officer for Nairnshire. Thank you for your time today to consider the Community Regeneration funding applications. So ahead of today's meeting, members will have received the application forms and a RAG summary spreadsheet that highlights the outcomes of the technical assessments undertaken by the CRF team. I would just like to note that the RAG assessment is undertaken on information that's been provided to us by the applicant during the process. And where a project has been awarded a red or amber against any criteria, that doesn't reflect any eligibility issues, but it does just flag up that there may be some outstanding concerns, such as match funding decisions or consents that are still pending. It could also be that limited information was provided within the application. And if members wish to approve projects that have red or amber ratings, then we'd usually seek to address these by applying technical conditions. So members will be asked to decide whether to approve, defer or reject applications that are under consideration. And in the case of approvals, to agree the grant award amount and any conditions of funding they wish to attach over and above the technical conditions which will arise from our assessments. So members are asked today to consider 2 applications with a total grant request of £21,000 with available area funds of £16,093, therefore meaning the funds are oversubscribed, and these funds are a mix of capital and revenue. We have 2 applications for consideration. One is from NICE, Nairn Improvement Community Enterprise, for the second phase of the Team Hamish Nairn Links Regeneration project, seeking £11,000 towards the total project costing £230,000. And this project is all capital costs. The other is from Nairn Bid for the Nairn Heritage Trail project, seeking £10,000 towards a total project costing just under £85,000. And that's a mix of capital and revenue costs. And just finally, in terms of the technical assessment, so both applications scored very highly across all aspects, and they're seeking quite low intervention rates for the value of the projects to be achieved. The Team Hamish project has all other match funding and consents in place. They're planning to have their contract awarded by this March for completion of the works by the end of June. The bid still has some match funding outstanding, and it's unknown whether consents will be required. It's also scheduled to commence in March but complete next March 25. So Chair, I'll now hand over to you to discuss the projects with your fellow members, but I'm available to answer any questions that may arise.
Okay, thank you, Fiona. Well, we'll deal with them one at a time. We'll talk about Team Hamish. I think this is an incredible project, and we're giving the last bit of sort of the funding mosaic, which will allow the project to crack on, starting in March, finishing in June. There's been fantastic public support for this, and there's nothing but goodwill towards it. So very keen to award the full amount, and I'll just open it up to my colleagues. Does anybody wish to say anything more?
Oh, I think it'll be a great benefit. It'll be of great benefit to the town. I think it'll be a big improvement of the area. There's nothing been done there for 50, 60 years, so I think it'll be a big draw as well. And looking at the plans, it is absolutely ideal. And I see us being able to do a number of events down there, so I'm fully supportive of this one.
Yep, absolutely. I think so. We're agreed on awarding the full amount?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the second one, which is an equally good project, the Nairn bid, the Heritage Trail, and the decision that we've made, and I'll open up for comment discussion, is that we would award the balance of the funds available to the Nairn bid and ask them to come forward with an application to the Ward Discretionary Fund for some of the remaining balance. So is there any other comments anybody wishes to make regarding the Heritage Trail? Or are we happy to support as I've outlined?
Support as outlined?
Yes, we give the balance of the funds that we have left to the bid Heritage Trail, and that creates a small shortfall, but they can apply. It's over a 12-month period, this project, so they've time to apply to our Ward Discretionary and various other funds that may be open to them. So I think we're happy to proceed on that basis, Fiona.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, right, I'm docking in between screens. Lewis, you've got the paper. Are we just approving this as, what do we need to do to move this forward? I struggled with some of my papers. Here we go. Yes. All right.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Fiona, could you run through the recommendations on the report again, just for clarity for members?
Okay, so that was to approve the 11,000 request for the Team Hamish project, and the balance, which let me just bring up, would be just over 5,000 to the Nairn bid project.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I've got our recommendations, so we just agree what's there, and happy to go on that basis that we've outlined. So are we agreed for the 2 levels of support?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Get
great.
them both over the line.
Yep. Okay, Fiona, thank you.
Okay.
That's appreciated, and thanks for all your work. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 6, the road budget. Richard, I see you waiting in the wings there. Oh, Richard's waiting in the wings.
He is, sorry. That's me just clicking all the buttons to get
Good
myself.
stuff.
There we are. Camera 2. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Chairman.
Okay, it's quite a strange one because we're awaiting the capital budget and we're agreeing the proposed area roads capital programme when we don't know the capital budget. But I suppose it's just that in principle we're agreeing what we get and where it's going to be spent. But I'll let you talk a little bit about that, Richard, if you want to.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it is really all about what money becomes available once the budget is known. At the moment, we've put in some figures into the Appendix 2 in the report, which basically is the default capital amount, if you like, based on the sort of 7.2 million allocation Highland wide, which is the sort of default figure. In previous years, we've had additional capital on top of that. So the default works out for Nairnshire at £275,000, which doesn't go that far these days.
No.
In the last 3 years, so 23, 24, 22, 23, and 21, 22, we've had considerably more than that. We've had around 500,000 and slightly more in a couple of those years. So that's gone much further, which has been very much appreciated. So we're waiting to see what we might get this year. If we do get the basic allocation, then Appendix 2 shows where that might go. So line 1 is our priority for surface dressing, which is the B9007 from Furness Crossroads to Murray Boundary. And then the contingency at the bottom, for which we usually allow for what we call structural integrity improvements. So any significant preparation works before we go ahead with surface dressing or surfacing as part of those schemes. So there's an allowance in there for drainage and storm damage type issues that could affect that. And there's 100,000 in row 10 for in-house schemes, which we usually required to do using our own labour force, the DLO. So there's not a huge amount of detail in there. It's just one row which says including rural roads and footways. So our intention is to hit the priorities there, which are pretty widespread geographically. Any high priority footway issues in and around the town, any junctions that have become problematic, perhaps like the Meikle-Kildrummy junction, and then we know there's issues out on the Drynechan Road. So there's, again, 100,000 doesn't go very far, so it'll be a question of prioritising the urgent repairs and making up a programme to do that. So the big question is the wider schemes beyond that, which we'll only be able to do if we get additional funding, other than the surface dressing section that I mentioned on the B9007. The next surface dressing section that we'd like to do, in fact, that would make up the whole programme next year. If we got additional money, we'd be able to do the sections on the Lochloy Road that are needing done as well. So that really summarises it. Other than that, we do the usual and work with the other council roads teams to try and bring in money where we can. Obviously, we got the benefit of the 20 mile an hour rollout, but we also got a few road safety schemes built into that this year. Eldern springs to mind. That was a success this year. And we got additional Scottish Timber Transport Scheme money again into Nairnshire, which was fantastic, which got the upgrade to the section on the approach to Howford Bridge, which had become quite dangerous. So that was a real boost. And a lot of the extra capital we got last year was called strategic capital, and that allowed us to complete some of the work we'd got done through the SDTS scheme on the B9101 and the B9090 Corridor Road. So yeah, we'll try and maximise that again. Thanks, Chairman.
Absolutely. Difficult times. I'll open it up to my colleagues if they have any points they wish to raise. Yes, Councillor Oldham. Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, and we are, as I've said before, these sort of meetings, we are very lucky in our ward when you compare us to other parts of the Highlands where the roads, even the major roads, are considerably worse. I mean, you go on some of the A roads on the west coast, and it's pothole avoided all the time. But I'm pleased to see we are getting some work done. 9007 always one of my favourite roads. It does get the weather out there, so it's good to see we're going to do some more work out there. But also, if we've got the money, Lochloy, which is coming into my estate, so I can't complain about that at all. But no, it's all sensible stuff, and we're doing what we can with the funds we've got. And yeah, as you say, there's the work we got done on the Corridor Road on the timber transport scheme. That was excellent. If any more money comes our way on that, that'd be grand. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Anybody else anything to say?
Yeah, a quick one. Any idea when they're going to put yellow lines in Marine Road? They've got all these plastic cones there, and they're all getting wrecked.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Fraser. Chairman, we're basically waiting for some better weather, warmer weather. It's a shame the timing of it. We didn't manage to catch it before the winter kicked in. That's the issue now. So as soon as we get the chance, we'll get in there and do that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I feel a transparency statement should have come from you there, Councillor Fraser, outside your front door there, you know.
Well,
however,
I spend every morning picking up cones out on the road.
Okay, well, there we go. Public service to the fore as always. Okay, Babs, do you want to say? Councillor
Yeah,
Jarvie?
Marine Road covered. That's good. That was flagged up to me by the access panel the other day. That's fine though. Thank you for the Howford and the Dava Bridge. That was a bit serious out of the blue. So is there still budget pockets after doing that, the Dava? How much did that cost? And also, yet again, the Drynachan, which is a recommended route. It's on all these scenic maps, and someone did actually do personal injury to themselves out the route. And the longer it's left, the more it's getting eroded and washed. It is an utter war zone. It's like the Somme. It's really, really bad. Really, I don't know how many vehicle claims you've got coming in for that route. God, it's horrendous, horrendous. Yeah. So you did say you were going to try and tag on at the end of the allocation last year to try and put a bit out there. I wonder if there's any end allocation that it just needs to get on that list somewhere. It really does before it's going to, the costs are going to go through the roof.
Right. Well, we'll ask Richard to address that. Richard?
Thanks very much. Yeah, we'll definitely take that on board. Yeah, it's on our radar. Excuse me, on our radar. So I did mention it at the beginning there. So yeah, we will try and get some action up Drynachan this year. At what scale, I don't know. That'll depend on the budget. And sorry, I don't have the figure for the Dava Bridge, but I can get that to you. We were working with our friends in the structures team to get, and that was brilliant. Yeah, they managed to get that finished off before Christmas, so that was a real boost. But I can get that figure for you. Thanks.
Does that come out of the ward budget, or is it a Highland budget? And just an idea how much that cost would be, because I see we have 40 bridges. That's amazing. No, good to have statistics like that, so we can think ahead what costs might come.
No, funding for bridges is something that is on everybody's minds, I think, because it tends to be separate from the road surfacing budget, and making sure there's some capital in there somewhere for bridge repairs is really vital, because we have a very small area maintenance budget for bridges, such as, you know, timber parapet repairs or weeding of a bridge parapet or fixing the drains on a bridge. But and then there's a big, there tends to be lines in the capital budget for the larger bridges, but all the ones in between and the works in between, that's something that everybody's a little bit concerned about, and making sure there is enough budget available for that. The one up at Dava was an insurance claim, so the money will come back in for that, thank goodness.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
You're muted, Councillor Green. Your microphone's off.
Oh, yeah.
Apologies, Councillor Fraser's raised his hand in the appropriate manner, so
just a quickie one.
So is Councillor Oldham, so we'll go to Councillor Fraser first.
The little bridge at Drumdune, do you know anything about that with the parapets?
Oh, I'm trying to place that one. That's not the one at Aldern.
Well, it's halfway between Nairn and Aldern.
Yeah,
the one at Fergus Ewan.
That was repaired, wasn't it? That was an insurance.
No. That's Canudi. This is the other side of the A96.
Sorry.
By Miller Hill. No.
Oh yes, that's always, it's so often getting hit that we would like to invest in that to widen it and remove that problem, because it's always getting hit by, well, I couldn't say necessarily who what's hitting it, but it's the larger vehicles. So yeah, that's a
you know about it. That's okay.
Yeah,
okay, that's fine. Councillor Oldham.
Yeah, Richard, I was just intrigued. You said that the bridge at Dava was an insurance claim. Did that mean we actually managed to identify who it was who hit the bridge?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Thanks.
Good.
With help from various people. So that was, and the police, of course. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, Richard, thank you for that. Pleasure as always. And we've just to agree the proposals for 24-25, the area roads capital programme there. The principles, the outline, as opposed to the actual. So we'll just agree that. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
agreed.
you. Right, Richard, thank you. Much
Thanks very
appreciated.
much. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
cheers, Richard. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, housing, and we've got Lee to talk us through this. Is Lee? Yes, good morning, Lee. Welcome to the Nairnshire Committee.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. Yeah, so I'll go through the housing garage rents report for Nairn for 2024 to 25. The report sets out the current position of garages and garage sites in the Nairn area. Section 5 of the report details number of garages and garage sites and the current rent levels. Note there are no voids in Nairn and the garages are in good condition. I've provided details on the average rent charges across Highland. This is at section 5.4 of the report, and Nairn has a low level of rent charge compared to other areas. Tenants have been consulted on a 6.5, 7.3 and 7.95% rent increase for council houses. This will be considered at Housing and Property Committee on the 31st of January. 6.2 of the garage report highlights the impact on garage rents in line with the council house increase proposals. I've also included details on a 10% and 20% rent increase. We've been discussing garages with members at ward business meetings during 2023, and section 7 of the report provides details of this work. As detailed, there is no housing development opportunities across the stock. Members also asked that we reported back to them for what charges for renting a storage unit in the private sector are locally, and this is detailed at section 7.2. So members are being asked to consider the rent levels for garages and garage sites in Nairn for 2024 to 2025. And could you not take some questions?
Okay, I'll open that up. Does anybody wish to speak to that on the various levels? Councillor,
my hand raised. I have my.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. My conclusion. I think this is what we talked about before. But when you look at the situation we have here, where over 80% of the council garages are not being rented by residents, but by just members of the public, and they get here incredibly good deal here on the storage. But if you look at 7.2, where the lowest figure they're talking about is £90 a month, we're down at £90 a month. We're down at £50 a year or less. So £48 a year or less. And I really do think we should be looking for an increase. And I would suggest we go for 20%. That'll be my proposal.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm happy to support that proposal with 20%. At the end of the day, garages are storage units, and if you say, Paul, it's their choosing. There are no unoccupied garages, we'll call them what they are, but they are effectively storage containers, and we need to get more commercial. So I'm more than happy to support the 20% increase. Does anybody have any comments? Councillor Fraser, Councillor Jarvie?
No, I've no comments and such. It's fine. I think we just still need. The only thing is, I'm quite happy to keep the garages because they are there for tenants' use. Ultimately, they are there for tenants' use. I certainly wouldn't be in favour of taking them down and putting houses up in their place. That I'd be opposed to. But that's it. Thanks.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll deal with what's in front of us. So if we go to the Babs, raise your hand in the appropriate manner.
I have.
I know, but not online. You see, you've got to do it online. Okay.
I've got my little yellow thing's not coming on. Sorry.
Okay, right. Well, irrespective, Babs.
Or have you turned me off, Chair?
No, we haven't. If you carry on, Barbara.
Right. Okay. So I've kind of thought about this. currently the garages are in good repair, but rising costs of materials, wooden locks and stuff like that, which is used in repairs, you know, do we still have money in the kitty? We don't want to get to a stage where the council cannot afford to honour the repairs in a timely manner, which they already have done. And I was thinking on raising, but it was a consultation, and the 10 and 20% was not in that consultation. However, as Paul has highlighted, the majority is non-tenants. I think I would go with the higher increase for the non-tenants and keep tenants at the 7.95.
No, Bob's, at the end of the day, whether you're a tenant or not, you're getting an incredibly good deal. And we've got to be bringing it up towards the Highland average, and we've got to get more commercial. It also gives Lee more money to do repairs if and when they're necessary. So we're playing catch up here, and I don't think we can differentiate between types of tenants. I think we just say that this is what the commercial rate that they're moving towards. So I'm not in favour of that. I'm happy to support Paul's recommendation that we go for 20%.
The higher amounts were not in the consultation, yes, and that should maybe go for future consultations, is what I'm thinking.
Well, we'll deal with what's in front of us just now, and as I say, I'm happy to support Paul's recommendation of a 20% increase. Councillor Fraser, have you any views on this?
No, I'm no views, no. No, I'm
okay.
happy.
Well, if that's the case, then we'll have that unanimous. Barbara, are you?
Well, for non-tenants, the 20%. For tenants, the 7.95 is what I propose.
Right. Well, you don't have a seconder, so unfortunately, you lost this one. So we'll agree to go with the 20%, Lee, if that's okay.
Okay,
and that's our recommendation.
Thank you very much.
I think that's it. Is there any other points? Well, thank you, Lee, as always, and we'll catch up, no doubt, in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, let's move on now to, I think, the most exciting item on the agenda, the Nairn Common Good Fund Engagement Consultation Response. There's a mouthful. Fabulous piece of work, some tremendous stuff that's come back, and I'll just ask, because Ali Garrow is not here today, so if Lewis can just give us a wee bit of background, and then we'll open it up to everybody.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, a lot of work's been done on this, and as you say, Ali's been pretty instrumental in pulling together the consultation which went out to the public, and he's turned it around in record time, I would say, in sterling piece of work. But following on from that October committee decision, we took the the proposed framework for engagement out to targeted consultation as had been agreed at committee. And in response, we got 18 consultation responses back from those that we'd engaged with in terms of that framework. 10 of the responses sought to amend the framework, and those are set out in Appendix 2 with proposed replies to those responses. Appendix 1 sets out all 18 responses in full. And I should maybe point out at this stage, Chair, that the appendices in the report are out of sequence, unfortunately, and there's a problem with page 77 of Appendix 1. Both of those issues will be resolved online post-committee. So Appendix 1 sets out all 18 responses. Appendix 2 sets out the responses which propose to amend the framework which went out for consultation, and it also sets out our proposed responses to those. We have endeavoured to amend the framework as much as we possibly can in response to the responses that we received, and that is what has pulled together the terms of reference which is set out in Appendix 3 for consideration. In terms of how we've changed that, or what what we've taken from the consultation and fed into the terms of reference, I should say, there was quite a lot of feedback that the pilot period for the engagement group should be as long a period as possible. So we've gone for a proposed 24-month period, 2 years for the trial, the test and learn trial. The frequency of the meeting was something that we got back from the consultation as well. They were keen that the consultations, the engagement group meetings were basically in sync with area committee, so that we could report to area committee in terms of the outcome from that engagement group. So we're proposing in the terms of reference that the engagement group will meet quarterly in advance of area committee. Duration of membership in the group, we've proposed 24 months. However, and again, this is in line with consultation responses, any group members who fail to attend 2 continuous meetings will be required to relinquish their place on the group. We've built that into the terms of reference as well. There was also quite a lot of feeling in the consultation responses that it really should be presenting the views of the Nairnshire community, and that officers should be in attendance and not there in any decision-making capacity. So again, I've reflected that in the terms of reference that Highland Council officers and statutory partner officers that attend these meetings will be there in an advisory capacity, basically to assist the engagement group in its process. So it's been a really positive piece of work. In the main, I think it's fair to say that all respondents were supportive of the principles, but some of them were trying to encourage us to give decision-making powers to the engagement group, which obviously we weren't able to do in the terms of reference, because that would contravene standing orders and our governance around common good decision-making. So that's my summary of where we are with it, Chair, and I'm more than happy to take questions.
You're muted, Michael.
Yep, I'll just 1 or 2 things, then I'll come to Councillor Oldham. I think it's an excellent report, an excellent piece of work. You've listened to what the communities have said. It's a pretty representative cross-section of Nairn society, and I'm really pleased that there's real input from the sort of youth side of it, which I think is vitally important. Try and get folk engaged early on, which bodes well. So can't wait for the first meeting, and I'll now hand over to Councillor Oldham for his comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have to say your view and mine is different, perhaps not least because I'm still unable to read Appendix 1, and that gives me, before I start this, to say I'm really not happy with where you have these papers. They were late to begin with. Appendix 1 was frankly unreadable. So from my point of view, the spreadsheet I received only an hour before the meeting, I can't read because they've blocked the wrong column in the report. So I've still not seen these positive responses you're talking about. So what I'm going to say to follow this will possibly reflect the fact of what I could read in the commenting appendix. So you have to excuse me if I'm a bit more negative than you are on this. I wanted to comment on some of the responses we received, which I could read, as hello, is it still working? I'm still with you. I've just had a sign-in message. Hello?
Yeah, you're still there. I can hear you.
Okay, right, fine. Okay. I found them depressing, and there was some statements there which were incorrect, misguided, or in one case, frankly, defamatory. I'll start off with that one, which came from Nairn Western Suburban Community Group. And that said that one of us shouldn't chair the engagement group because, and I quote, Highland councillors are conflicted. I find that suggestion that I would choose the councillor in the best interest of the people of Nairn who elected me to be both insulting and defamatory. And I imagine that other members would feel the same way. I also note that we are, quote, reluctant to comment and inform the community. As someone who is doing so weekly in posts regularly read by over 300 residents, and in some cases several thousand, as well as engaging with residents on Facebook regularly, I'm disappointed by this constituted perception of what we're doing. One consultee suggested that, unlike in Nairn, the Highland Council is spending its own money on leisure assets in Inverness, and £10 million spent here at Bourke Park, Wind Park, and the Northern Meeting Place was quoted. I've checked and I'm told that money was from a variety of sources external to the council, including the Levelling Up Fund. And significantly in this context, the Inverness Common Good was the major contributor, which of course is significantly bigger than Nairn's. Another consultation suggested that at least 5 members of Nairn River Community Council should be members of this group, which is pretty much the whole of that community council. No mention of Nairn West and Suburban, however. But turning to the general issue of the purpose of this engagement group, I note repeated references by several consultees to voting and non-voting members. With it, as we'd said, the youth member was included in by the latter by one consultee, which I found disappointing. And this for me sums up the fundamental misunderstanding of the point of this group, which is this is not intended to be decision making, as Lewis has pointed out. My overall conclusion from the responses I could read is that the attitude to these likely members of the group that we have put them, which is that they will not be at all satisfied with the group as is proposed. And frankly, at the moment, I'm considering proposing we scrap the whole idea and move on, as I think it would be simply frustrating and time consuming for all parties with little benefit for us. But wait to see what other members have got to say. Thank you. Can't hear you, Michael. Can't hear you.
Apologies. Councillor Fraser, Councillor Jarvie, do you wish to comment?
Well, I'll go first, and I think Paul sums it up very well there. I feel the first 2 or 3 of these meetings are just going to be nothing more than an almighty bun fight. I think we're just opening ourselves up for a pile of trouble, but nevertheless, we've gone through this process for near on a year and talked about. I think scrapping isn't at this stage isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
It's sort of undemocratic. So I think we should give it a try for 2, 3, maybe a year's worth of meetings. If it proves just fraught and impossible to work with the groups or the individuals involved, then we would have to abandon it. But the problem is if they think they're going to turn up en masse, 5 or 6 community councillors, and just take over and hog the whole thing, demanding votes and rights, it's not going to work full stop. And you as well just scrapping it. And the sooner that goes in the our comments go in the public domain, the better. I think people will understand.
I would comment on that. I think that there's a very important element of the first couple of meetings is training and the understanding, as Paul has said, this is a sounding board. It's there to get feedback. There is no decision-making capacity, and that will be spelled out in black and white in the first few meetings. That this is not what it's about. So I take on board your points and the negativity that's coming, which is disappointing. But the community councils, especially, are asking for something that even if it was in our power to grant, I wouldn't be in favour of doing it. We're elected. We've gone through an election, and we've got a democratic mandate. So I'll hand over to Lewis. You wish to speak?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just thought I'd maybe just come in on some of the points that have been made before we go out to all the members. In terms of the comments there from Councillor Oldham, yeah, you're right to pick up on what you have done, Councillor Oldham. Can't disagree with any of that. As always with anything that touches on the Nairn common good, it has generated a fair bit of heat as well as positivity, in terms of what's come back. Unfortunately, some of the consultation responses, they're making statements, they're raising old grievances, and when it's come to that type of consultation response, I've basically just noted them, rather than to try and get into the detail of misapprehensions with them. And in terms of the chair of the group, it's proposed in the terms of reference quite appropriately that it'll need to be a Nairnshire member that chairs this group, in my view. It can't be an independent chair just by the nature of our governance around this. It's our group. It's a group that's been proposed by this area committee. And then just again to reinforce the points that you're making, this is not a decision-making group that we're proposing. There will be no voting rights. This is going to be a group that we use to engage with the community, to try and listen to the community's views in a different way in terms of the Common Good Fund. It will not be a decision-making body. And the last point in response to Councillor Oldham's remarks there is that the initial meetings, as I've said in the report, will need to take a workshop format. They will have a real... they will be training and induction meetings, to be honest with you. They're not going to have a work stream type agenda. I would say at least the first 2 meetings will need to be about scene setting, clarifying what the role of the engagement group is, setting out what it can and cannot do, basically spending a fair bit of time with the participants on the extent of the Nairn Common Good Fund, because it's a very complex asset register that we're dealing with. So we just need to make sure that that group is informed, not just in the extent of the common good fund, but in terms of what that group's set up to do. And in terms of what Councillor Fraser said there, I'm happy to amend the terms of reference if members would prefer the pilot to be for 12 months rather than 24. Happy to do that. We could run an initial 12 months and then come back to committee and review, and then take a view as to whether we would do a further 12 months. Happy to take further comments from the rest of the members, Chair.
Okay. I'll come to Councillor Jarvie.
Sorry, I don't think my hand thing just isn't going out.
That's okay, Babs. I can go.
Okay, it's a shame that there's so much effort gone into this report from Ali, huge amount of time, lots of effort, obviously with you as well, Lewis, but the readability of it is actually appalling. And for it to be sitting on a public website, I think we're just feeding ammo here. I find it really frustrating to read and try and read again with the different font sizes and things not being numbered. So could it be numbered, all same font sizes in a clear A4 format somehow, just so it's clarity and open there. Having things numbered to refer to makes things a lot easier for us to pick up points here today, because people have gone to the trouble of responding to a consultation, you know, and which is worthy. However, I'm asking for something that was wanted. There's an awful lot of negativity about it. I was hoping there was going to be more positivity, even though people are saying they want this to go forward. And I find that the comments are, I'm concerned they're actually off-putting to others wanting to become engaged in future consultations on anything, which is not nice when, as 4 councillors, we are meant to be representing all of Nairn, from the edge to the edge of it, every group. So, you know, I would like that door to be open for other groups to be able to come and participate if it's relevant on a certain bit. We do not know, within the span of 2 years, we do not know which other groups will arise, which other groups will be formed, which other groups will be of interest of any age, which way certain bits of common good will turn. Therefore, we're closing down expertise that can comment on things in this engagement group, not decision group, engagement group. That word needs to be in actual capitals. You know, after sort of, as Paul says, reading through the insults, we'll kind of move forward in a positive way. I would like it to be 24 months, but I would like it reviewed after the year with ongoing monitoring. You know, maybe things need tweaked along the way. And as I say, I want open doors for people to become engaged from other groups if you're not already represented within a group that is there. Okay, I think that makes a difference.
We have that flexibility built in there that if we need to sort of draft in the appropriate people for certain meetings, we can do it. I think what's coming through, and I quite agree with Lewis's suggestion, we just haven't. I'll come to you in a minute, Laurie, if it's okay. I think that the 12-month pilot, because we can't get it to work, there's no point flogging a dead horse if it's not going to be a productive whereby we get some real genuine engagement and it works as a sounding board, then there's no point in pursuing it. So I think that we do a review after 12 months. We take that. So I think I would be keen to see that. Laurie.
Just a quick one, Lewis, as you're departing shortly, who's likely to come and assist at this these first meetings, apart from I think it'll be Ali, but will we have somebody heavier from the council for support?
Thanks, Councillor Fraser. Yep, Chair, I'm happy to come in on that. Yeah, my areas will be changing as part of our team restructure. The full details of the sort of transition and handover will be worked up during February. So we'll be in touch with you all just to set out what that's going to look like in terms of handover and transition. I don't have all the details to hand just now, but we'll be in discussion with you over the coming weeks as to what that'll look like. Because you're right, Councillor Fraser, we need to ensure that Ali is adequately supported in the work of this group, and I'll make sure that that happens one way or another.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, are we of like-minded to put the review in 12 months' time? Yep, I think that's agreed unanimously. And I would also say, well, I was quite positive about the input from small sections, the youth section. I don't disagree with one word that anybody said here. It's theirs to lose. I'll leave it at that. So can we agree that the 12-month pilot? I'll move to the recommendations, and it's to note the consultation responses, agree the proposed replies to the consultation, and approve the terms of reference for the engagement group as set out in Appendix 3. And also to note the terms of reference, and they'll be adjusted, Lewis, to reflect that we'll review it in 12 months, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So on that basis, are we happy to note, agree, and approve?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's great.
Paul.
Thank you.
Paul saying, Paul.
No, Paul.
I was just going to say, I thought we were in danger of losing the 24 month. I thought we were saying 24 months, but we'll review after 12, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. Review after 12 months. That's what we agreed. Okay, on that basis, are you all right, that, Lewis? That's, you know what you're doing, 12 months?
Yes. Thanks, Chair. So yeah, just for the purpose of the minute, you're approving the terms of reference for a 24-month test and learn pilot, but we'll review it at Area Committee after 12 months.
Yep. Okay. Right. Thank you for that. Thanks, everybody. We'll move on now to the word discretionary. Lewis, if you want to just, if there's anything to say there, it's just for noting, really.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is item 9 is a transparency item, which basically sets out how we've used the ward discretionary funds since the last Area Committee. So it just sets out there on the agenda that I've approved a £1,000 payment to the Millbank Primary Parent Council for a non-curriculum reading book project, and these are books that are for enjoyment, recreation and group reading rather than curriculum activity. There's other payments in terms of the ward discretionary fund which are in the process of being paid, and those will be reported to our next Area Committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
That's fine. Okay, any comments from anybody?
No, great idea from Millbank School for a reading project that hopefully radiates across other schools with our failing attainment. So no, a great idea, and people get involved.
Right. Yep. Well done. So agreed to note that. Agreed.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. We'll come on to the last item 10 of the minutes. These are circulated for noting. Noted.
Noted.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Well done, guys. That's under an hour. So thank you for that. And a good committee. Lewis, thank you. And we'll be speaking to you at the appropriate time about your new role, but not today.
I think we should take opportunity to pay tribute to Lewis here, because he's done us well for the last 2 years, and we are sorry to see you go, Lewis.
Yeah, thanks.
Very sad.
I would go further than that and say, Lewis, and I've been at this a while now, you're the best Highland Council officer I've worked with, and I can't say more than that. So it's been a phenomenal input you've had for Nairn. You've made a real difference. You've driven forward so many projects, and it's just tragic to see you depart to go north. But we'll thank you, and you have the thanks of committee and on behalf of the people in Nairn for the various projects. Thank you, and well done, Lewis. Thank you.
Thanks, members. Much appreciated.